This is the Eurodragster podcast from Eurodragster.com, covering UK and European drag racing since 1997. Hosted by Graham and Chris. This bi-monthly show brings you the latest news, stories and updates from across the drag racing scene, with the occasional guest. This podcast is sponsored by Design by Binny. Now, let's get to it.
Well, welcome back to episode 8 of the Eurodragster podcast. This one will strike you as a little bit strange because it's me, just me. Chris is indisposed. No, he's away. At the time of this recording. This finds me back fresh. Well, fresh is an exaggeration. Back from 3 days of Festival of Power with Eurodragster.com and the live reporting aspect of my editorial stroke custodian role of the site. It's been, I'm going to be honest and say it was a little bit difficult getting back in the swing. I'm sure all the drivers, riders, pit crew, etc., found it a little bit difficult as well. We've been I'm going to speak from my personal opinion here. I was out of the loop a little bit. Took me about half a day to get back into the swing. I found it a little bit difficult. You might find that a little bit strange, but sitting in the tower from, let's say, for argument's sake, 7:30 in the morning till probably 9 o'clock at night, typing constantly to try and keep you up to date with bits and pieces, try to keep you in the loop with data and standings from every aspect of the live reports for an event, especially at Santa Pod, is quite a big thing. It might sound like I'm blowing smoke up my own bum, but it's just the way it is. It's the job role I took on, and I am quite passionate about what I do, and I want to make sure it's right, and I want to get the information out there as soon and as fast as possible, and as accurate as possible. And there are slip-ups, and I do apologise in advance for that. That'll bring you up to speed on that. So the 3 days, some very good 3 days, some highs and indeed quite a few lows. We'll speak about that. Well, why do I say we will speak about that? I will speak about that in this podcast. It might not be a very long podcast, and for that I do apologise. It was always going to be difficult trying to find a guest the day after a fairly big event. We have got lots of people lined up, and I've got lots of people waiting in the wings to organise to come on the podcast and have a good old chat. We've got some big names and some people that want to get their word out, tell everybody their story, and to tell you the God's honest truth, that is all I ever wanted to do. With that being said, I am going to put my professional voice to all the things that we needed to do, that we normally do. So we'll bring you up to speed. We had some birthdays and some news and some bits and pieces that we always wanted to bring. We always want to bring you news from the site. Just for those people that find it difficult to get access to the site, that don't go on the site, just another way of getting the information out there. And I hope that you are always happy to join us. One thing I did take away from the Festival of Power was there was quite a few people that said, we listen. And you know what? Good or bad, I'm just thankful that people are listening. And I kind of enjoy doing it. It puts me out my comfort zone quite a fair way. But I enjoyed this. And I kind of look forward to it, and I get very apprehensive about it. But I always want to do the best I possibly can. And I know Chris does as well. But unfortunately, this time, Chris isn't here. Chris will be a bit surprised to find that I'm going to put an episode out without him. And I didn't really want to. I wanted to hang on, but I also don't want to impose on people. It's very strange. So we go into the 3rd of April, starting off our coverage on Good Friday. There was a test day the day before, and funnily enough, it was a better day weather-wise. It was a much better day than the following 3 days. The following 3 days weather-wise, although it was very sunny, was damn chilly, and my, the wind. The wind was unbelievable for the constant 3 days. The tower was absolutely battered, as indeed the whole site was battered. I know there were a few casualties with awnings and gazebos and tents, because funnily enough, I don't actually stay on site, I stay locally. And every morning I come fresh in, and when I came in Sunday morning, there were quite a few destroyed bits and pieces in the car parks and the camping zones. And I thought, oh dear, I'll just play that down, because I sat in the tower for 3 days solidly with a wind, mostly a headwind, battering the tower. And I honestly felt seasick because the tower never stopped moving. It was funny. But these are the necessary evils that we do to do the things that we love doing. And one of the things that I love doing is reporting on people racing, and indeed that's exactly what they did. We started with live coverage with me in the tower, with Julian and Diana on the track and in the pits, providing pictures of the racers from the track action and all the behind the scenes action. And this was the first time that Jess Bishop was out and about in the pits, which was very difficult for her as well, because she wasn't just reporting and typing up and posting and taking information from the drivers and chatting. She was also racing, and racing, in hindsight, very well, I must say. This was a new setup for her, and she did amazingly well on the track as well as off the track. And I'm just glad that Jess has come on board. And personally, I'm going to say thank you very much, Jess, because you were superb. The racing was good to watch, and the pit notes were good. Great fun. This was always, as we always say this, one of our grateful supporters that's been around for quite a few years for us, and we meet every single year, is John Wolf Racing and Dave Rizek is an absolute stalwart of the sport, and has supported us a lot. And so we always our event coverage is sponsored by John Wolf Racing, and it's just great for him to be there. So day one, I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of how it was from my point of view. We knew that after the SPRC dinner that Colin Miller was coming out this year in Top Fuel. The Flying Fifer, an already well-established brand within the Outlaw Anglia series, has transferred over to Top Fuel Dragster with Runa for RF Motorsport. I believe the car was Liam Jones's last year, obviously rebranded in the Flying Fifer livery. Funnily enough, there was a lot of bits and pieces going around, and there was a design for a shirt and piece of branding called the Flying Fueler. And do you know what? That was amazing. I wish I'd seen more of that, because I really liked the design, and I know Peter Walters did that, and that was superb. Very talented guy. Very talented racer as well. So we knew that he was coming out. Unfortunately, his first foray into Top Fuel, we knew that he had to do his licensing. That was always going to happen. The first time I looked behind me and saw him awaiting to come forward to do his burnout and his first part of his licensing system, where he had to do a burnout and a launch. I believe there was some drive issues that forced the car to be pushed back and taken to the pits. I'm just going to jump ahead 24 hours, and I actually had the good fortune to speak to Colin on first thing Saturday morning whilst roaming around the pits, and he said that the rear end really had no drive in it whatsoever. So overnight, the whole rear end was changed. The drive shaft was fine. It was just the rear end really lacked a bit of drive. So that was all changed. And later in the day, he came out again. But I shall go back to my for Friday. Andy Robinson and John Webster were in for the Fuel Tech British Drag Racing Pro Mod Championship, as well as Jean Doulemont, and there was another gentleman as well, Mr. Thomas Urowski. Unfortunately, Thomas Urowski was actually licensing, so couldn't actually physically compete, because when you're doing your licensing runs, you are not recording qualifying runs. Andy Robinson and John Webster missed Q1. Jean Doulemont actually did come out for Q1. Still quite fresh to the Sorcerer Pro Mod. But every single run that I see that car go down the strip at Santa Pod Raceway looks better and better and better. Still quite wild, I believe. The car came from America, and I still think that he's still ironing out quite a few of the creases in it, but he'll get there. He's a very well-established driver, very skilled, and it's just as simple as that. They will get there eventually. It's not an overnight thing. You don't close your eyes and wake up in the morning a professional pro mod driver. I'm sure if I was to sit in the seat and press the buttons, I'm sure I would be just as bad as any fresh-faced driver. Also, welcome back to two Nitro Funny Car drivers, John Spaffard and Kevin Chapman. Now, they also, at that moment on the Friday, were looking, we would say observed runs, because they are both they are both nitro fueled car drivers, funny car drivers. They've obviously John Spaffard goes without any saying. You know, his history of driving nitro funny cars is unparalleled in this country. So he had some observed runs just to familiarise himself again, this time in Bob Jarrett's Showtime Funny Car. Obviously, the history between Bob Jarrett and John Spaffard is very well established, so it was nice to see those two gentlemen back together. Kevin Chapman, also in the Thermareg Funny Car, was looking to get back into a competitive role, so has to go through a few stages of showing his capabilities. And like even the Pro Mod drivers and John Spaffard, it's like riding a bike. You get back on the saddle tomorrow, and yes, you will be able to do it, but not as good as you need to do it, and as probably in their own heads as good as they want to do it either. So you have to be signed off by the race director. So you have to go through a certain set of parameters and checks and everything that needs to go with it for you to be able to compete. Joining them in the class this weekend were two already very well established funny car drivers in the form of Kevin Kent in the West End Motorsports funny car and Dale Leakes in the Beast from the East Team Hawk fuel funny car. Great to see those two people back. Kev Kent's had a year out, come back, doesn't actually look like he ever left. This gentleman has a very heavy right foot and doesn't actually know the meaning of lift, which is quite refreshing. He will always give 110%, as everybody else does. But Kev Kent seems to be an absolutely on the edge, which is always fun to watch, because that guy has got so much potential, and I want to see him break the 300 mile an hour bracket, because I know it's coming this year, and I'm just crossing my fingers to see, and hopefully that I'm there when it happens, as I'm sure Dale is pushing for that as well. Unfortunately, the Undertaker car with Steve Ashdown was not quite ready, as I believe Rob Elsom in the One Bad Texan car. They've got to still got some bits and pieces that they need to sort out to get them ready. One piece of news of Rob Elsom is his driver for this year, Jason Phelps of the Gladiator fame, is coming back to drive Rob Elsom's car this year, which is going to be great to see. Jumping ahead to Sunday afternoon, I had a quick chat with Jason. Also, great to see him. Still anxious, still wanting to be in that seat and putting his foot down and going through the lights. Great to see. And I know that the championship this year is going to be well contested when everybody's back, 100%. So, also from the Friday, it was released that Carl Cox Motorsport was backing junior classes this year. That would be junior dragster and junior drag bike. We kind of knew that it was already a given, but just to confirm it 100% was good. This gentleman, Carl Cox, although I know him from long ago as a DJ, and I'm sure he still is a DJ, a worldwide celebrity and a worldwide motorsport team, has a lot of cars in America, has a lot of cars in Australia, and has cars now in the UK. There are further things afoot for Carl Cox Motorsport this year, but backing the team, backing the junior classes is a great and an admirable thing to do, because this is where the future of the sport lays. I know this year saw a lot of juniors moving up into bigger classes, and you will see that one of those names that stepped up this year, funnily enough, already been on the podcast, did so well this year, so well at the Festival of Power. And it just shows you the training and the conditioning that running a season through junior classes can do for you as a driver and as a rider. It's great to see it. So another big thing on the list, another guest from earlier podcasts and in a connection with our show sponsor Jamie Binney from Design by Binney, Nathan Hawkes in the Bricktop Racing Fox Body. Had a good Thursday, but fell a little bit short the next day. Found an issue in the car, something didn't quite feel right. Spent most of Friday in the pits, scratching his head, talking to people, looking at things, fiddling with things, trying to make the car work for you. I did have conversations with them, and they had some ideas of where they needed to go and where they needed to look. Kind of got busy in the tower, and I didn't get as much time to chat to Nathan as I probably would have liked to. I know on the Saturday he decided to put a run in just to see what it was capable of doing. Unfortunately, we never saw him. We never saw him again after that, and it was a shame, because that car is spectacular to look at. The paint job is just amazing. I know Jamie was pretty beat up about that, because for his friend, you know, you want the best for everybody, and that's always the way it's going to be. And just to fall short of that last hurdle kind of hurt. And although he never said it, I kind of feel that was where it was going. And safe to say, he's taken it back, and I'm sure they're going to dig into it and they're going to make it right. No matter what, he is going to come out all singing and all dancing, and gonna take the class by storm. Absolutely, one of the best things to see. Mark Turner. We were due to have a chat with Mark Turner about bringing the 760 Heads Up class to the podcast. It was something that I needed to do, something that I wanted to do, and it was something that Mark had asked for. And I was ready and willing and able to go down and chat to him when I had some time. It would, you know, we needed to chat and we needed to talk about things, and we never actually got to do it because whilst Mark had come out in the new livery and spectacular as it was, unfortunately holed the engine at the top end, did his run, copious amounts of smoke at the top end. There are some pictures that they've posted online, on Facebook, on social media, of the damage. An obliterated conrod. The oil pan is pretty much holed. I think there's a crack in the block. There's definitely a crack in something. I couldn't identify which part. I have to admit, I am not mechanically minded. I'm trying to be, and I am trying to learn, but I'm quite old. I'm there are only so many questions you can ask drivers before they get upset and tell you to go away. It's real shame. Never thought discretion was the better part of valor, and I thought I better just back down and not speak to them, because I thought they're going to have enough to deal with. It was a great shame that after a serious winter rebuild, a repaint, and a really stunning, eye-catching livery, the engine decided it didn't really want to be a race car that day, and the damage that was incurred really put paid to their event. They then packed up and decided to take the car back home, and I suppose that they are still looking at the damage now and thinking, what do we need to do to make this right? Great shame. Would have loved to have catch up with Mark, and I will send him an email and a message to try and get some sort of conversation and dialogue going. Just the way it is. I'm not going to push my way into something when someone has had something. I don't like reporting on damages the best as of most people, but it is what it is. Always going to try. Always going to push ourselves along. But the podcast pretty much isn't sometimes high on everybody's agenda as it is for me. Be careful. That's always the way I do. And finally, for day one, my little list of bits and pieces. Andy Robinson decided that it was ready to come out, and he decided to come out in Pro Mod on Q3. That car is an absolute eye-opener every single time I see it. He has got such a great team around him, and the history and the skill and the knowledge that not only Andy Robinson has, but his team around him and his family. That car is phenomenal every single time I see it. Great driver, A to B, every single time. Straight out the bat, straight into second. What more could you... Well, you could... I say, what more could you ask for? You could probably ask to say, I want to be the top of the table. But, when you're the top of the table, there is only one way, and that's down. So, when you're second, you can always push for first. And that brings us to a close on day one of the Festival of Power at Santa Pod Raceway. Let's push on. To day two, the Saturday. Weather? Let's not talk about the weather. The weather wasn't our friend that day. Let's say it was dry. It certainly was dry. There was a couple of delays. But let's just say the wind, and I'm sure everybody, if they were to give me a post-event report now, would say, oh my God, that weather, that wind was just phenomenal. Caused more complications than it was worth. One of the great things that came from the Friday night was something that I've just mentioned earlier. Peter Walters came out in the dragster. He had a lot of rear-end damage from qualifying on Friday. Thought that pretty much his weekend was over as that class of car. Came out still out in his Sportsman ET class, but the dragster pretty much he thought was done and dusted. Lot of help overnight. And you know what? Saturday he was out. Phenomenal. Should rename that the car the Phoenix, because it was back, revitalized and fixed overnight and competitive 100%. Great to see. The jet cars. Let's talk about them quickly or slowly. Doesn't really matter. I my personal view of the jet cars as observations is I get to see them from above and behind. Everybody sees them from the side and the front and when they race. Now, I sit in the tower for when I'm live reporting, and I've had 2 years of jet cars now from the tower, and every time they start up and initially fire the show, I still jump. It's funny. I still get caught out because my brain tells me I know it's coming and I should be prepared, but I still jump. And it still makes me smile. But the difference between, let's say, Roger Goring and Martin Hill and Julian Webb is that they stage their flame shows under the tower and behind. So you're going to feel the heat, you're going to smell the smell, but you don't get the shake until they pull forward and throttle up and move into stage. The one exemption to that is Perry Watkins. Perry in the Oklahoma Willie bus always stages in front of the tower. Now, the bus itself, in previous history, is if I say sedate to you, is not. It's sedate compared to Fire Force 3, 5, Spider-Man, and Jets and Firestorm. It's sedate in those aspects, but still a force to be reckoned with. Now, the difference being when he stages in front of the tower, all of the force and the exhaust and the air movement is thrown straight at the tower. Yes, a lot goes under, but a lot hits the tower and it creates such a movement within the tower. I know structurally it was reinforced quite a few years ago to take this battering, but it still wobbles. If you are to come up to the tower and experience it from that point, you'll understand what I mean. The tower moves. But Perry does it in front of the tower, and I've no quibbles about that. But all of the force and all of the exhaust hits the tower, and it gets a shake and it gets a wobble, and everything moves, and things fall off tables, and plugs come out of sockets. It's quite funny. The Robin Jackson, the guy that sits next to me sometimes and does quite a bit of reporting for Santa Pod and some magazines, another great font of knowledge, spends most of the time for the jet cars holding the plugs in because they do fall out quite regularly. So I have to say, this year, both Robin and I believe that guy has turned that vehicle up. I cannot fathom it ever being that powerful, which did show in some of his runs. He was having a few issues. Now, whether or not this is true, I would call him a little bit of a flame out sort of thing. As he throttled up and released the afterburner, there was a slight dip in the power of the turbine and he had to throttle back up. Whether that was a flame out or not, I don't know. I would like to chat to him and catch up. I tried to catch up with him, but never actually did find him. Probably very busy. But his flame show, in the position that he stages Oklahoma Willie, is phenomenal this year. I don't know what he's done. Both Robin and I stared at each other after he'd completed his run and said, he has done something different to that vehicle. That jet engine is, I don't know, 120, 130%, certainly more than it was the year before. It felt so aggressive, so powerful, so forceful. It was just phenomenal. It's just something. He's done something to that over the closed season, and I really would like him to drop me a line and tell me exactly what he has done to that vehicle, because that was something else. And if you haven't seen it this year, get yourself to the track and witness it, and then come back and tell me, was it the same? Because I certainly don't think it was the same. he did his fastest ever estimated time at 10.3124 at 157.99 miles an hour. And that's purely on the jet engine. The crazy thing about this, and Colin Theobald will say this quite a lot, the crazy thing about that is that when he completes his run and he slows down at the top end, I assume he throttles down the engine, engages the flat 4 engine that's underneath, and just drives off track. Now, the jet cars, as in Fire Force, Stable, and all the others, once the engine is off, there's no drive. You've got to be towed or pushed. And it's a crazy build, and I know why he did it, but it's just something else. And the turnout on that vehicle every single time is immaculate, shiny, amazing, absolutely amazing. But my lasting thought on that is oh my, what has he done? He's turned something up on that, because that made us rock in that tower like never before. Moving on, back to Pro Mod. John Webster. There's some damage in the Fast Company Pro Mod. Not quite sure. Never actually got to the bottom of what actually happened. But Robin told me that the car was hurting, and that was quite obvious. So when he came out for his semi-final, and just to add a note to that, they decided that they would finish qualifying for Pro Mods quite early on Saturday, and then run a semi-final and a final on Saturday, so they could do something else on the Sunday. When it came to semi-final, John Webster literally just rolled the car in, broke the beams, and then pushed back. Didn't actually make a complete run. All he had to do was break the beams with the front of the car under its own power, and then that means that his buy run was complete. Obviously, the car was hurting. Still made the final, though. I'll add that. Still made the final, which was pretty interesting, but never actually contested it against Andy Robinson. So the car was damaged in some way. That gentleman's another genius in his own class. We'll fix it. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we'll come out once again and dominate, because he did things last year that he's never done before, and I'm hoping that again this year he'll do things this year that he's never done before, because there's always, as I say, there's always room for more. Let's move into ET Bike. One of the juniors that stepped up this year into ET Bike from a junior drag bike, Holly King. Still only 16 years old. Had a few engine issues in qualifying, but managed to fix it after qualifying round number 2. Came out all singing, all dancing, and this shows a lot of the commitment of the families, of the people around them, and the riders themselves. Always pushing, always wanting more. There is a line somewhere along the line, but always wanting to be out there, always wanted to be honing their skill on the track. And you're never going to get, you can get practice sessions and things like that, and you get accustomed to the bike and you learn its little insecurities and that within the bike, but you never really get a true feel for it unless, as I say, you ride it or drive it in anger. And that it comes from competition. Competition teaches you a lot. But great to see Holly King coming back up. Also on that name lineage, Jackson King on his new bike, on a Yamaha RD1252 two-stroke, manages to get a personal best of 9.6. That's 68. Let me look my notes. Yeah, 68 miles an hour. That young guy. Another one that always amazes me. So happy, so involved in the sport. Always breaking barriers. Willie's try his hardest. Always happy about it. Always jolly about it. Great to see. Just an update on the Peter Walder's story. I got a few bits and pieces sent to me during the day, Jess being one of them. He's damaged car before it was fixed. It broke every tooth off the ring gear, causing damage elsewhere. But Jeff Hauser from Hauser Race Cars managed to put it all right. And that's one of the things that always amazes me. I've seen it in other classes. We talk about the family aspect of it all. Always great to hear. Always great to see. But came out Q2, position 2, I should say. Fantastic. Let's move on to Sportsman AT. Let's look at Michael Dowdy, father of Matthew. Spending a long time watching, crewing for Matthew Dowdy. Decided that he was gonna be not content sitting and letting everybody else race. He wanted to be involved too. Comes out in Sportsman AT in a soft top imported Corvette Stingray and competed and actually, made a difference. People coming into the classes is still quite important. There are classes that are suffering with numbers, and there are some that are absolutely thriving with numbers, and Sportsman AT being one of the first level entry classes is thriving. It's great to see. Great to see. Let's have a look on my list. It's Oscar Young. Let's talk about Oscar Young in Junior Dragster. He's driving Tom Peters' old Junior Dragster car, but he's running it with the JS engine. Came out number 1 qualifier in his 3rd ever event. Shows you the absolute commitment that even the juniors are having this year, pushing the boundaries wherever they go. And that's always great to see, and I will always support. Doesn't matter who it is. You give your commitment, and I'm supporting you, and I'm going to be there every step of the way and cheering these people on. Let's move to Aaron Fensom. Q4, first ever run. Managed to miss 1, 2, and 3 qualifiers. Not quite sure why. Ironing out some bits and pieces in the car. Comes out on Q4, straight into 2nd position. Where did that come from? There's a commitment level that, never say die attitude. Unbelievable. Comes straight out. Pretty much was packed up. Ready to leave. Nick Davison gave him some help and gave him some advice, and they decided that they'll try it one last time and gets straight into position number 2. Goes into elimination round number 1 with a bye. Where did that come from? That's fantastic to see. Let's push on. Let's push on to day 3 from my point of view. Quite a few casualties of qualifying. One of the classes, let's say, was Street Eliminator. Tony Higgs, absolute legend of the Street Eliminator brand in the Capri. I did notice that he's done a lot of work over this year. A lot of carbon fibre in that car to reduce weight. I did see the front end is a complete carbon fibre clip. Lot of money, a lot of time, lot of effort. Unfortunately, span a bearing in qualifying and never made it out again. Erring on the side of caution, but spinning a bearing obviously means that there could be a lot of internal damage. I'm only hypothesizing at this moment, so we wait to see any more coming from that. Mark Bailey was out with a transmission problem. The Didwells, his team did well. We got the news that there was a lot of engine issues with Alan Didwell in the car this year. On the Sunday, wasn't going to make eliminations. Lo and behold, he's in the lanes. Another one back from, the jaws of defeat. Another one. 2025 champion in his class. Wow. Another one. Every time I'm amazed that people manage to, push and come out and do more than you thought that they were worth. Another one. Let's look at Rebel. Peter Brown this time being the pilot. Doing so well in qualifying. Love to see that car. Great people. Been on the podcast. Failed with a starter motor and a ring gear. So unfortunately, he was out. I did see a post of Hayley putting up on social media, the feeling of packing your car up and leaving before the end of the event is quite a sad thing. Nick Curtis was out. We don't actually know what that was. Perhaps someday I'll be updated on that. And the only strange one was Jason Weir. Jason Weir, Street Eliminator. One of the stipulations of being in Street Eliminators, the car has to be road legal. And to be road legal, you have to have an MOT, and I believe he didn't actually have an MOT, which was strange. Must have been overlooked, but I know that he'll remedy that for the next meeting. Beautiful looking car, very competitive, and great to see them racing. Ryan Davison in Top Fuel Bike was a casualty. But this is where, when we get into the bike classes, this is where we were thrown a complete curveball. Because of the issues of the strong crosswinds and headwind, it meant that the latter half of qualifying on the Saturday was only running the left lane. And it was one at a time, because being in the left lane meant you had a lot of runoff. As most people will see, Jasmine Cordell, she posted her 360-degree video from her run, and you can see her starting in the left lane and ending in the right lane very close to the wall. So that shows how the wind could catch even the bikes. So it was made on the Sunday that the decision was made that all bike classes, not just junior drag bike, but all the bike classes were going to be run over the 8th and not the quarter. Which obviously meant the 850 bike got changed to 545 and 950 bike got changed to 605. So I should have really, if I was intelligent enough, I should have written those down on, instead of being 950 bike, I should have put the Evans family 605 bike. But that was a conscious decision of the race director and the team at Santapod to make it safe for everyone. Another one during eliminations, Mark Sheridan pulled up, made his run, obviously won that run, but as he pulled off at the top end, the engine was making a bit of a noise. Don't actually know what was the final diagnosis, but as he pulled off and slowed down and came to a stop, the engine noise got worse, so backed out and decided that best not to push it any further, and withdrew from competition. And my last thing on my sheet that I wrote down whilst I was typing was Kevin Kent in the Nitro Funny Car. All-time personal best of 4.1704. Did go 290 plus, but I know his record is 296. So didn't quite get a speed PB, but certainly got a time PB. And funnily enough, won the event for Nitro Funny Car, which was fantastic to see. That being said, that was my bits and pieces. I'm hoping that I'm going to put that message out there and ask people for some of their race reports. That brings us on to Sunday evening, massive overrun. So I was home quite late, but the finals were pretty much in the swing of things, and then the worst happened. A gentleman had an accident in his car, and unfortunately brought an end to the meeting. Conditions may have been an influencing factor. I'm only hypothesizing here. We know the gentleman crashed at the top end. The marshals and all the emergency services that are on site are absolutely superb and indispensable. They were on call in a flash. Split second, they were on. They were there and they were in charge of the situation. This obviously brought a halt to proceedings at that moment in time. The gentleman I won't mention, and I won't mention the class, but if people are on social media, they will see and they will hear. Managed to, as we saw from the tower, just hit the wall at a fair rate of knots and at a pretty horrendous angle, which caused the car to roll. As we understand why we were waiting, some news came back to us that the gentleman in question managed to extricate himself from the car under his own steam and was fully conscious, which we were elated about to hear. But as a result, was taken to the medical facility to be checked over. I have seen a message today, because I am recording this the day after the event, thanking a lot of the marshals and the medical staff and the emergency services that were there for all their hard work and their diligence. And I will add my name to that hat and say thank you to them, because without them, this is just not possible. But he's home. He's battered and bruised and still in a bit of shock. But cars and vehicles and bikes can be replaced. People cannot. And I will emphasise that. We know that motorsport is dangerous in any shape or form, and these people do put their bodies on the line every single time they race. But safety and security is paramount in every class of every race at Santa Pod Raceway. And without the commitment and I would say the diligence of all the emergency staff, the marshals, the medical, the fire crew, it just simply wouldn't work. And I'm going to say thank you to them once again. Let's go through the finals. A couple of these were run, as I say, one was run on Saturday, which was the Andy Robinson Pro Mod win over John Webster. John Webster recorded no time on that one. The Fuel Funny Car, Kev Kent obviously beat Dale Leakes. Let me have a look at this. Yep. There was a slight error at that time. The timing system didn't record a full 1,000 feet time on that one, which was a shame. Let's move down my list because I have printed it out and I am reading it verbatim from the list. Super Comp, Charlie Seaward beats Stevie Gates. Defeated. I won't say beat. Let me say defeated. No. Yeah, defeated. I think defeated is a nice word. That's how I type it up. Charlie Seaward defeated Stephen Gates in Super Comp. Stuart Morris takes the Supercas win over Lee Morris. Pro ET was won by Tom Watkins over Don Scott. Dan Holloway took the win over Rob Cresswell in Sportsman ET. Luke Ferrugia. I'm just going to sidetrack a little bit and go off at tangent here. Luke Ferrugia, Maltese competitor in Funny Bike. This guy is another one that every time that he makes the journey from Malta to this country to race, pushes the boundaries of funny bike racing every single time. It's just a sad thing that the Maltese at the moment have no racetrack of their own, because obviously how it's going in Malta with the rebuild is just unbelievable. Pushes the boundaries every time. So yeah, Luke Farrugia managed to beat Mike Ollie in Funny Bike. This is where it becomes interesting, and we go to ET Bike, and we had this chat with Declan Butt earlier on the podcast, and he said that the only thing that he really wanted to do in ET Bike when he stepped up from junior drag bike was have a grudge match with Phil Pratt. Unbelievably, he had that in the final. And this wasn't a grudge match. This was the final for the win. So Declan Butt and Phil Pratt met on the start line, and Declan won. Declan took ET Bike Championship in his first ever season of ET Bike over the guy that he calls his mentor. How good is that? And the first person to congratulate him is Phil Pratt. Fantastic. Comp Bike, Jasmine Cordell. We talk about Jasmine being caught by the wind and getting very close. Jasmine managed to beat Paul Hambidge in Comp Bike. Super Street Bike was not contested by Alan Morrison. He recorded, he wasn't even on the start line, unfortunately. And so Jake Michelle took the win. 950 Bike, Hayden Michelle beat Dion Hartley, who, yeah, Hayden Michelle, another person that's been on the podcast, another absolute rider that's pushing the boundaries of his personal journey and the class in general. 850 Bike was won by Paul Morris over Gary Hester. And junior drag bike, the winner was Maggie Smallman over Harry Isaacs. And that's all we got, because unfortunately, with 4 classes left to run after the accident happened, it was taken, the decision was made by all the officials that the event was to stop. Whether or not that was because there was never going to be enough time to complete anything before the cut-off time, before it got dark, after the accident, and whether it was due to weather conditions, I personally don't have access to, but the decision was made, and that was that. There are some finals still to run, and if you look on the live reports, you will see there are some gaps, and they were the classes still to run, and that was unfortunate, but that's racing. Whether sometimes we've never run there is an event that I have in my files that we've never actually got to do a finals for anyone because of the weather or other things, but that's the way it goes. Festival of Power is complete. We now move on. 2 weeks' time, Spring Speed Nationals. Once again, I'm there doing the same thing again. Only 2 days this time, so I'll be a bit more, a bit of a cut and thrust and thrashing out of live reports. I believe it's very well attended. I know that there are a lot of drivers and riders that are signed up for that. I have heard over 300, which is going to be quite a bit of a record for them. I will see you all there, and I will do the same again. And if you want to pass on any information, then please do. If you want to have any information added onto the live reports, drop me a line. Always great to hear from anybody. But let's go back to the website now and look at what's coming up and what has happened. Coinciding on the 4th of April, Tog was covering day 1 of the Manston Park Raceway for us. Posted his gallery. Always great to see that Tog does a lot of things for Manston and for Melbourne. Great to see as ever. Always a good gallery. Drop by, give that a look. As I'll reiterate, the Friday, the Saturday and the Sunday galleries of Festival of Power. Please do go and see that. Also, again, Tog on the 5th of April was at Manston, so there are 2 galleries for that event. Scrolling down my list, I would love to say this gentleman's name, but we had a message from the Drag Race Union overseas in the Netherlands that Nick de Groof lost his entire racing operation in a fire. The dragster, camper van, tools, safety gear, everything was consumed by fire. Everything that he had put his lifeblood into and his money and everything was lost in this fire. And it's a great shame to know that this probably won't stop him, but it'll put a hold on his career at this moment. So all our heart and our support goes out to him. There is the Drag Race Union have actually put a link on our website for a GoFundMe page. If you feel that you know this gentleman and you want to be part of that, then please show all that you can. The last thing on my list is Eurodragster.com sponsor Bob Roberts posted his gallery from the 2026 Wheels Day. It's Easter and the year begins here. Forget January. It's just a calendar glitch. He's posted his gallery to us. We've posted it online. Please give that a view. Have a look around. Bob Roberts put a lot of heart and soul into that as well. So it's always well supported. And I will always mention people around me and the people that support us, because Bob Roberts, Andy Rogers, Tog, Diana, Julian, Kirsty, Jess, Chris, myself, we always put a lot into Eurodragster.com, sometimes more than we really should, because it's hard to keep going. But I reiterate this every single time that I put a podcast out. We can't do this without you. Your support, whether you're a sponsor, whether you're a backer, whether you're just helping out, or just simply a supplier of pictures, stories, reports, news, sales. They're all the things that make this work for us, and we couldn't do it without you. And please, not begging, but please just bear with us sometimes. Sometimes we get things wrong. Sometimes we get things a little bit out of skew. We'll always put it right in the end. Winners, nearly forgot there for a minute. Winners of the Perfect Light and the Perfect ET Award. So Perfect Light, sponsored by Bad Habit Racing with Kath and Tig Napier, went to Scott Collier. And the Perfect ET Award, second run of the day on Friday, went to Stevie Gates. So they are £50 richer. The only one to follow on is the Eurodragster.com Photo Finish Awards, which unfortunately is always a post-event, and we have to basically trawl through all the data. I've got a couple of bits and pieces written down that will make it easiest for us, but once we find that out, we'll notify those people and send them the finances accordingly. So let's have a quick look at what we are moving on to. So next week at the track, 11th to 12th of April, Spring Nationals, Melbourne Raceway. I believe Chris is booked in for that. I can't remember, but I know that Tog will be there because it's Melbourne Raceway and Tog is always there. He will have a post-match report and a gallery as normal, and eternally grateful for that. There is a Run What You Brung Day at Santa Pod on the 11th, and following that is the GTI Festival, which is their first lifestyle event of the year. I'm sure there'll be a gallery coming from that somewhere along the lines. After that, we have on the 18th and 19th, we have the Manston Showdown Streetcar Shootout at Manston Raceway. I'm sure Tog will be there for that as well. And 18th and 19th, we have the Spring Speed Nationals at Santa Pod Raceway, which I know I will be there for that. Moving on to the week after that, 25th of April, is the Dragon Drift NSA April at Dakota Raceway. And at the same day, there's a Saturday night special at Centre Pod Raceway. I believe that's a Run What You Brung. And the day after is the Fast Show at Centre Pod. So, hoping to get to a few more lifestyle events this year, even if it's just to do galleries, would be great. I know that Kirsty Tram is going to do some of that for us, and she was eager to get to some of the other events. I'm possibly looking at some of the events as well, still undecided. Gonna iron out a few things because we don't really want to miss things, because there are things going on at the tracks that now that we're in full swing of race mode, we're going to be there. Simple as that. So that comes up to the hour mark of me babbling on by myself. No guests this week. We're just having a guest-free zone. But as I say, we've got some people lined up. We were always going to talk to some more people. Got to get a few more events out of the way first. I have got a couple of names on my list that I am talking to. And if you would like to be added into that list, and we want people to come on, and we want people to just talk about their journey, their cars, their racing, their riding, anything. Doesn't have to be a racer or a rider. Just has to be, crew chief, family. It can be anybody involved. You can be a marshal. Have Ian Marshall, have Dave Warren, anybody. It'd be great to chat to anybody, because they've all got knowledge and wealth of experience, and it's nice just to get people's names and voices out there. So if you have that in mind and you want to be part of the podcast, and I'd love you to be, drop us a line at podcast@eurodragster.com. Chris and I get those emails, so we'll pick them up and we'll be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Also, thank you for downloading all the way up to episode 7. And obviously, this being episode 8, I'm hoping you're going to listen to this and realise that you've downloaded this as well. We've got some new merchandise that we are finalising as we speak. I have the bits and pieces here, and once they're sorted out with Chris, once he gets back, we'll be able to get those online and hopefully get people to purchase them. And also, just to give you an update on the podcast, I know for a fact that episode 7 has gone out 2 weeks ago, and last week we hit 1,100 downloads, and for that I am eternally grateful. I'm going to say I'm humbled by it. I thought we would get 11, but we've got 1,100. And I hope those numbers will continue to go. And as those numbers go up, I will keep posting, and I will keep asking people to come and join us and talk about their stories. And that being said, please download this podcast through whoever you download your podcasts through, whether it be Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, which is our service that hosts our podcast. Also, we have the player on the website, so you can go into the website and you can have a look at the home page. And if you go to, if I believe, news, if you go to the news and you scroll down, and at the very below Driver's Diaries, it says podcasts. And if you touch on that, you will see all the episodes of the podcast, and you can listen to them straight from there. And also a big thank you to Design by Jamie Binney, for sponsoring our podcasts. Still need to catch up with him. And if you are listening to this, Jamie, give me a message. Nice to catch up with people. Give us your reports. Lovely. Love to hear from you from your Fist of Power reports. I know quite a few people do that already. I'll tell you one name that I'm going to push for, and I'm going to get in contact this week, is Mark Corsell. Mark was kind enough to share an article for his 30th year in competition. Be great to chat to him and the Limited Funds team, him, Steve, Lynn, Harley, who I now remember as Egg. It'll be great to hear from you. Drop us a line. With that all being said, hope you listen to this podcast. Hope you've had a not a dull listen to my monotone, droll terribly awful, mumbling voice. Join us next time. Hope to have a guest next time, and Chris will be back. So thank you for listening. Have a good day. Race safe, and we'll be back as soon as there's more to review.
That was the Euro Dragster podcast. For drag racing news, reports, galleries and classifieds, visit eurodragster.com. Join Graham and Chris next time for more from the world of drag racing.